The painting you are looking at right now seems, at first glance, to depict a momentous and respectable scene from medical history. But behind the calm and professional facade of this image hides one of the darkest and most disturbing stories in the history of modern science. Not because it contains deformed creatures or terrifying landscapes. What is disturbing is the context it conceals. This work is called Marion Sims, Gynecologic Surgeon. It was painted by the American artist Robert Thom around 1952, and today it is held in the collection of Michigan Medicine at the University of Michigan. If we look at the image, it is easy to fall into the trap of thinking it is a simple historical tribute. In it, we see several key figures. A doctor standing confidently on the right side of the room. A patient kneeling on an examination table in the center. Two other men standing nearby, appearing ready to assist. And two young women peeking out from behind a white curtain on the left. At first glance, it looks like a standard depiction of a 19th century medical breakthrough. But to understand why this image is so unsettling, it is important to know who the man standing with his arms crossed actually is. That man is Dr. Marion Sims, a figure known for over a century as the father of modern gynecology. Sims earned that title by inventing surgical techniques and instruments such as the modern speculum that revolutionized women's health and cured devastating complications from childbirth. But what the history books overlooked for decades, and what this painting tries to sanitize, is exactly how he perfected those techniques. If we look closely at the young woman kneeling on the table, her name is Lucy, and the two women hiding behind the curtain are believed to be Anarcha and Betsey. They were not ordinary patients who had come to this clinic seeking help. They were enslaved black women. Between 1844 and 1849, in a crude backyard hospital in Montgomery, Alabama, Sims performed dozens of experimental surgeries on these women. And he did so without any anesthesia. Even though early forms of anesthesia were becoming available at the time, Sims believed that his experimental procedures did not warrant it. He operated on Anarcha alone 30 times before finally declaring his technique a success. When we return to the painting with this knowledge in mind, every single detail takes on a completely different meaning. Look at the posture of Dr. Sims. Something curious about this painting is that he is not depicted in the middle of a procedure, covered in blood or sweat. Here he stands comfortably, and his posture is that of a ruler. He wears a stark black coat that deliberately contrasts with the rustic wooden walls of the shed. His arms are folded perfectly across his chest, and in his hand he holds a silver instrument, his newly invented speculum, almost like a symbol of absolute authority. He is not looking at Lucy with the empathy of a healer. He is looking at her with the calculating gaze of someone observing an object. And then there is Lucy. Thom painted her kneeling on the table, clutching the collar of her dress. Her posture conveys a mixture of apprehension and forced submission. Notice how the two medical apprentices are positioned on the left, observing her openly. This detail demonstrates the absolute lack of privacy and dignity these women were afforded. They were placed on display, completely vulnerable, for the education and ambition of white men. But there is something even more incredible that this painting leaves out. Because when Sims' medical apprentices eventually grew tired of his constant, unsuccessful experiments and abandoned him, Sims did not stop. Instead, he trained the enslaved women themselves to assist him. These women, while recovering from agonizing surgeries, were forced to act as his surgical nurses. They ran his hospital, cared for one another, and essentially co-created the medical breakthroughs that Sims took all the credit for. Yet, in this painting, they are relegated to the shadows behind a white sheet, peeking out as if they are merely curious bystanders, rather than the true heroines of this medical advancement. Robert Thom was commissioned by a major pharmaceutical company to paint this image in the 1950s as a celebration of medical progress. His intention was to immortalize a hero. But inadvertently, he left us the only known visual representation of Lucy, Anarcha, and Betsey. This painting forces us to confront a deeply uncomfortable question. How do we view the medical advancements we benefit from today, knowing they were built on the suffering and exploitation of those who were entirely erased from the narrative? I'd love for you to leave me in the comments whether you had ever heard the true story behind this painting, or whether you think art like this should remain on display as a reminder of our history. Make sure to drop by viewcrypt.com to grab some incredible, museum-quality art reproductions for your walls. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.